How to resurface your cast iron bath by yourself. With Learn with Lynn at Bowray Design. Find us on Instagram and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I do lifestyle videos, but I also integrate it with DIY, and today's task is to turn this bath into this. So I will give you a step by step of how I did this. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Firstly, let me show you how bad this cast iron bath is at the moment. It is discoloured in places, but it also is completely bare at the bottom where all the paint has peeled off. We are left with a big ridge around the edge where it transitions into the paint, but this is how it looks at the moment. In order to do this, I will be using the following pieces of equipment. A rust remover to get some spots of rust removed, a primer from Johnson's, a Johnson's interior wood and metal top coat, a pack of rollers where I'll be using the bottom foam ones, and two types of sandpaper, a P80 and a P120. Initially I want to remove any of the paint that's flaking before I sandpaper it. So I'm using a induction hob scraper which has a razor blade inside, and I'm just going along the edge of where the paint is peeling and taking off any paint that is already loose from the main body of the bath. Now that that's complete, I'm just rinsing down the bath to get rid of any of those pieces. I'm preparing in advance a solution of sugar soap using 25 grams of the powder with 450 millilitres of the water. Make sure that you use gloves for this because the solution is quite harsh. Pour the liquid into the powder and let it dissolve while you then go and tackle sandpapering the edges of the bath. So I'm using quite a coarse sandpaper, a P80. The lower the number, the larger the grains of sand, because the number denotes the amount of sand particles in a set area. So the higher the sand particles, the finer the sand would be. So I'm just going over the edges and making sure they are nice and smooth. As you can see, it creates quite a lot of mess, but you're just wanting to make sure that the edges don't show up under the paint. So you want to sand these down so that it's quite a smooth transition between the original paint and the bare bath. Then just rinse this down before going on to tackle some of the rust spots that are on the bare section of the bath. As you can see here, there's not very many, so I am going to be just applying the rust remover directly, but you can fill the bath and dissolve it. Usually applying it neat is for things that can't be submerged, but for this instance I'm going to use this rust remover, and I'm just going to dab this on to the bath. As it says here, you can dilute this into water and then submerge the item that you're going to be doing. Obviously with a bath it would work well because you can fill the bath with water, but since there are only a few spots, I'm just going to use a paintbrush, an old paintbrush, and dab onto these spots and leave it for the allocated time, which is 10 minutes, for this to work. After this is finished, you'll rinse off the rust solution and then go straight away into washing with the pre-made sugar soap solution. I am wearing gloves here because this is quite a harsh solution. I'm just using an old cloth and soaking it well in the solution. As you can see, the sugar soap has completely dissolved in the water, and then I'm just going to be quite harsh and trying to get out as much of the dirt that is on the bath on both the pre-painted section and the bare section. Keep going back and forth to ensure the cloth has enough of the solution on it, and try and concentrate quite hard on the transition section, so where the old paint goes into the new, because we've been working quite a lot at that area. So just work really hard, as well as on the bare section. Get as much of the dirt off before you then rinse it down again and leave it to dry, ready for applying your first coat of primer. So now that the bath is completely dry, you have to leave this until it is completely bone dry. I opened the window in this room just to allow for extra ventilation and to speed up the drying process, but before that I wiped it down with a towel to take off the majority of the water from the surface of the bath. I am now cutting in with a brush
You can tape up and mask all the sections that you don't wish to paint. I am just cutting in, and if there has been any overspillage, I will just remove this after the bath has been completely painted. You can do this as you go with Wonder Wipes, which I will show you later, and you just continue until you have finished coating the full bath with the primer paint. I have now left this to dry for the suggested 16 hours and it's looking better already. The finish is really nice. It's got a little bit of a dimple to it thanks to the roller, but it is lovely and smooth and has completely transformed the bath already. Next, for the next coat, I will be going over with a light sandpaper of the P120. This is a finer grain. The higher the number, the finer the sandpaper. And I'm just going over the entire bath, concentrating on any sections that need extra removal of paint, for example, before using a damp cloth to remove any of the dust from the sandpaper. Then I'll wipe it down again with a dry cloth to make sure the bath is completely dry before going on to paint with the Johnson's interior wood and metal paint. It has a drying time of the same as the primer, a 16 to 24 hours between coats. Please ensure that your room is well ventilated because this does have a strong smell and it emits some chemical odour. So make sure that you're well ventilated. I have gone for the brilliant white, but you can obviously choose any colour that you wish. We'll detail the roller pack that I bought down below, but I'm using these firm foam rollers. You could invest in some high density rollers, the grey ones that you find in your hardware store. This might have been a little bit easier to apply, but I found the finish with these excellent. Using the same process as with the primer, I set to work to do the first coat of the top coat of paint. So a little trick that I like to do between coats is to use cling film. Instead of washing your brushes in between each coat, especially with using an oil-based paint, I like to just make sure that I load the brush and the roller with enough paint so that it won't dry out, and then wrap them in cling film. This stops the air getting to them and allows you to then reuse the same paintbrush and roller the next day without any of the pesky washing up in between, which is always the worst part of DIY. Now that we're finished with the tin, I'm going to put the lid back on and seal it with my fingers. But then I'm also going to invert the paint tin to allow the paint to seal at the top in case you've damaged the lid and any air is able to get in. Not so good with old tins of paint because you get little bits of old paint going in. If you're a messy painter like me, then these Wonder Wipes are fantastic. It is so difficult to remove oil-based paint from your hands or from surfaces that you don't wish the paint to be on, but these Wonder Wipes work really well in making sure that your hands stay clean, and they can also be used to wipe down the tin of paint as well so that you don't cover up any important information on the outside of the tin. That is the first coat of top coat now dry. It's been 16 hours and I'm just going to do the same as I did with after the primer coat, and I'm going to use the same P120 sandpaper to lightly sand over the paint. If there's any spots that you've overpainted by mistake, you can remove them at this stage, but once this is finished I will wipe down and dry as per before getting on to the second coat of top coat. Unwrapping the brushes from the cling film is always the best part. I'm also using a head torch here to be able to see Because it's now very difficult to see sections of the bath because it's all white, this allows me to further inspect the bath, which makes it a lot easier for painting. After 2 coats, the bath looked perfect. However, I've decided to put an extra 3rd coat just on the very bottom section of the bath. I have done the sandpaper as per before. This just gives a little bit of a key for the next coat of paint, so it's got something to adhere to. And then, as you can see, I'm only concentrating on the bottom section where it was bare initially. And there you have it, a completely renovated cast iron bath back to former glory, going from looking like this to being transformed to looking like this. Not only did it save us money, but it also saved us the hassle of replacing the bath. The only thing left to make it look even better is to address the grout. For this, I am going to be using a grout pen from Unibond, and I will be going over all the yellowed grout just to give it a spruce up and make it look like it is brand new as well. This is waterproof, so once it is dry, it should last for a good length of time before needing to be reapplied.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, I would love it if you could hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.